Welcome to Talking with Colerain Township. Today we have in our studio the chance to meet a new face, new-ish face at the administration building. We have David Miller here. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
I appreciate your coming over to the studio. I want to make sure that members of the township get a chance to meet you. I know we have already seen you at trustees meetings, at zoning meetings. You're not a new face anymore.
No, mid-January, so
Okay.
I'm finding my stride.
And you have joined as Director of Economic Development.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about your background, how long you've been in the area, what are you bringing to that?
We moved to the area, particularly Springfield Township, so I always say it's about a 9-iron shot away from Colerain. We probably have lived and shopped more in Colerain just because it's close. It has, one of the things that I said early on in our staff meetings was Colerain's got it all. I kind of think there's really not a need to go a whole lot of other places, but nonetheless, since 2001 we've been in the area. Probably the last dozen years or so I've been down at Cincinnati City Hall. I work for several council members as chief of staff for them in a variety of roles. Spent a couple years at the Auditor of State's office as well. Did lots of driving then, but nonetheless, I think the work, particularly with City Hall and the direct contact that we had often with not only constituents in dealing with their issues, but all of the legislation and proposals that came through, all of the neighborhoods. Cincinnati has 52 distinct neighborhoods, and so there was always something going on that needed interaction with a council office, and all 9 offices, including the mayor, would have that opportunity. And so there were lots of projects, and I think for the first few years with one of the council members, she served on the Planning Commission, and so that was very development centric and had a lot of opportunity to interact with all the processes that go through all your zoning issues that and businesses that needed the Planning Commission approvals. Had an opportunity to work very directly with all of them, and I think that probably where I cut my teeth the best in just understanding their needs and trying to merge those with the interest of the jurisdiction for the city and the neighborhoods, and so I think that prepared me very well for being able to come in here in Colerain and try to help do the same.
Colerain Township is like that too. It has very different areas. It has some very built-up retail areas, some very rural farmland areas. So it's nice that that experience comes through. You've done that kind of thing in one office.
We recently contracted with an organization to help us do a rebranding, and so we're doing a deep dive on that, and took them throughout Colerain Township and drove them to every nook and cranny. And it was interesting just to hear their response and the breadth of the experiences that you can have and the variety of topography and the built outs, everything. Like I said, Colerain's pretty much got it all. So I think that does help give me a better understanding of what somebody in any part of Colerain is going to be thinking as well, and at least be able to empathize with them.
Do you think that experience in other government offices is something that helps you when you are trying to help from a development standpoint? Things happen. Like sometimes we can look at things that might be, okay, I see a need on this corner in Colerain Township, but I don't know what forms, what organizations, who to apply, where do we get funding? Do you feel like, oh no, I've already got some connections there and I know where to go on that?
I have been pleasantly surprised at how many relationships I have developed over the last dozen years or so or more, where I've been able to reach back into those immediately and either, again, gaining the experience or getting some help moving forward on something else. So that's all I think playing into this, and I think that was one thing that I thought, even though I hadn't held the specific role of being a development director in the past, the experiences that I had and everything I could bring to the table, I think prepared me, and it seems to be serving well so far.
And being able to hit it with a 9-iron, which I have never tried.
Okay.
Unless perhaps I just threw the 9-iron, then maybe I could hit Colerain Township.
You
that
might
way.
need a driver, but
Okay, that's good to know.
yeah, you literally can you drive down Pippin and you have Springfield Township on one side of the street and Colerain's on the other.
Yeah.
So that would be a 9-iron shot.
Colerain Township does include golf courses, so I'll have that'll be something to test someday.
Let's do it.
That might be a future program.
Okay.
One of the things that I think I saw, of course, I spent a lot of time in the Colerain Township Administrative Building, was that with your addition, did they do some reorganization in your department? Can you talk a little bit about that and what your role is and how that shifted?
Yeah. Our township administrator, Jeff Mills, been there a while, probably touched every component, every aspect of the township. And I've really been appreciative of just the breadth of experience and knowledge that he has of every part. And I just feel so confident in his leadership in that. And his background and education's been in planning. And so planners like to plan, right? Well, he's also very tuned into development and the necessity of helping create an economic health in a community that benefits everybody. I love to say that a rising tide will float all boats. And so economically, if we can provide a healthy economic environment, we provide jobs for people, we provide entertainment, for people that live there. We provide a revenue source to help provide public services. So one of the things that Jeff did with my addition was just pivot the planning and zoning part, which had kind of been leading this department. And it's a vital necessity with all of the requests that come in for just a variety of zoning certificates. And it runs the gamut from small homeowners and businesses to large developments. It's everything. And a lot of detail. Got a great zoning administrator that's doing that right now. Came over from Dearborn County, Indiana. And so what Jeff did was just refocus to an economic development-centric department that has within it that planning and zoning component, because it is part of it, and looking at each activity from that development perspective. How can we help somebody? I'm a very strong proponent and fan of the free market system. As I said, a rising tide will float all boats. And if we have somebody that's an entrepreneur or an investor that wants to take a risk with his capital, there's a great appreciation that I have for that. And I want to help him succeed because, again, as he succeeds, all of his employees succeed, our community succeeds. He's providing a benefit, whether it's a product or a service. And so I think he ought to be rewarded for that. And again, he's doing the work. Colerain is significantly different than the city of Cincinnati in its tax structure, insofar as Colerain does not, and pretty much every township in Ohio, unless you have some special districts, is not legally allowed to charge an income tax. So the city of Cincinnati, municipalities in general, they do charge an income tax. So when you look at the city's budget, their general revenue fund was about 70% income tax. So if you lived or worked in the city, that was a major revenue stream coming in. So the city was far more apt to give a variety of property tax rebates or breaks on investments, whereas Colerain Township and other townships do not have an income tax that is bringing in revenue, and they are relying heavily on property taxes. And so those kinds of incentives for economic development are just not there, where the city could give incentives the township cannot. And so we're not throwing money at people and trying to get them to come, as you might often hear about in the news in other large jurisdictions. And again, I think there's sometimes a lot of questions, maybe some resentment, but nonetheless, one of the things that I try to do is just come along beside these entrepreneurs, these new businesses and development projects, and see how we can partner together and work together to accomplish what they're trying to do.
And we've just going to unpack that a little bit. So there's some different things. The funding is different in Colerain Township. But that also means the incentives you have to offer businesses. As economic development director, that's your job, to bring in the businesses, but you don't have the same carrots to hold out in front of them.
Yeah.
But at the same token, and of course you take direction from what the trustees say they want to do with
exactly.
things. So it's about being creative. How can you make it appealing to a company at the same time without having to, as you said, just throw money at them? Because
it's not an option. And that was something that we did recently with the trustees. We had a work session, and we looked at a strategic economic development plan. What does this look like? What do the trustees want in that umbrella of economic development, and how can I and the staff of the whole township bring that to fruition? And so we looked at housing. What does that look like in single-family homes, multifamily? How do we do that? What are ways that we can incentivize? Are there any incentives that we can provide? Are there grants that we can get outside of our jurisdiction? We have developed some really good relationships with some regional and state economic development organizations, such as REDI Cincinnati. REDI is Regional Economic Development Initiative. They are affiliated with Jobs Ohio. So that's the state of Ohio. They have created a very large pool of money, very creatively, once again. That was part of what everybody heard on the Intel project that's going in north of Columbus that recently was announced. And so those kinds of partnerships, I think, are helping us right now. We're working on a manufacturer's expansion, and just the new hookup for gas is close to $500,000. And adding that into the budget for construction of this new manufacturing facility is a very large percentage. Insofar as we're trying to find ways to find these economic grants from people like, whether it's Duke or ODOT, transportation, somebody that would want that same thing that we want. They want to be able to assist these businesses that want to expand. And so those are great partnerships that we're working on. We also talked with the trustees about manufacturing. What does that look like? How do we work more closely with them that are in Colerain Township, help them expand? 3 out of 4 of our manufacturers are looking to expand right now. So
and you want them to expand in town.
And that's been the encouraging part. 2 out of the 4 that we've had some extensive talks with have explicitly said we want to stay in Colerain. And what's interesting too is I talked about the tax structures of different jurisdictions. I can't help but believe that the lack of requiring an income tax of the corporation or the employees is a part of that incentive that we can offer. And
that's just in the structure of the township. That's not something you have to add. That's something you already have to offer.
It's already there as something that is inviting to businesses, and I think that helps us in a way of being able to attract more. There are pools of money that are out there across the state that are available, and that's what we're working on right now. Even the electric hookup is going to be part of that construction cost. I think we've already found a grant for that, to pay for a chunk of that. So it's, it's a time-consuming process.
Yeah.
These projects take years. You can't just snap your fingers and throw up walls. Albeit, there are some things that you can do to help move things along more quickly. We get emails on a regular basis from the state, Jobs Ohio, and even Ready, Cincinnati. They're saying, we just had a business come to us. They want to do X, Y, and Z. They're going to need utilities of this much electricity, this much gas. They're going to need to be near a rail. They want to be near water and barge transportation. It runs the gamut again. So what we do is look at the specs of what they need and try to fit that someplace that we have. Again, Colerain's pretty built out if you look at Colerain Avenue, but there are a number of other places that are still available, and that's what we're trying to look at. There's one particular property, about 30 acres, and we've looked at that and tried to offer it to a number of prospects, but they just haven't, bid on that. And so one of the things that's actually taking place right now is site preparation. So the owner said, we're going to make it shorter time frame for somebody to sticking the shovel in the ground to ribbon cutting.
We're going to start getting it ready. So
we're going
if they
to
pick our
prep the site.
they'll get there faster. Okay.
Exactly. So those are, instead of just throwing them a map with trees on 30 acres, well, okay, let's do some site prep. We brought in a developer, a construction company, and said, what could you do on this site? Site prep's done. What could you throw up there as for an industrial use that would be, quick and easy? How long would that take you? What would it cost? So we were able to take that to the owner of the property and say, here's somebody that can help you get closer, so that when somebody does say, I have a need, then we can say, we're already 6 months closer to you cutting the ribbon. So that's work that's going on every day. It's really about relationships.
Yeah.
Something that I really thought did a good job of developing over time with the city of Cincinnati, and then being proactive and looking at opportunities that are out there, and kind of merging those together and just keeping those relationships strong.
So let me ask you, we talked about how the department is a little bit differently structured now. Jared focuses primarily, and we've met him, on zoning, things like that, zoning applications, and you have a very specific focus on the economic development. Just can you give me a couple of examples of when a resident is going to call for Jared and when a resident is going to call for you?
Well, if you need a fence or a pool, you're going to call Jared. Those are real simple things. We have a business that is expanding, again, a manufacturer on the southern part of Colerain, and they are purchasing a building just about across the street that they're going to use for some warehousing. And they have gone to Jared because they need to change the zoning certificate that says it was first used for retail, now we're going to use it for warehouse. So in the code, it's different, so they need that is going to be different. At the same time, I'm working with this prospect in helping them navigate this whole process. I called the president and said, I hear you're interested in this building. I've already made the calls to the original architect of the building, and I've determined that we've got the plans on the building. We've got them all updated. All we have to do is a very quick walk over the property, get everything, the current site conditions updated, and this is going to be the calendar that we have with your application, the zoning commission, and then the trustees. And so those were, I think, opportunities where we very closely worked together. And I've got a small business, Sonic, which is Sonic Drive-In.
Okay.
Right? Funny thing was we recently got all the approvals for a Dairy Queen, and they've started all of their permitting, the architectural plans, everything going through with Jared. We have a new communication specialist with Colerain Township, and everybody is loving having Helen on board.
Yeah.
And so very detailed about getting, every little opportunity to get in front of people. Because, we all have different interests. I don't care about that, but I care about this. When she put out the Dairy Queen approval, that's so far, and she's only been on board a month, maybe 2 months. That was the highest number of views that we had on anything.
I mean, we all have different interests.
Yeah.
Except Dairy Queen. We all have interests in Dairy Queen. There's no.
So
and Sonic coming. This is a very tasty list you have.
It is. Well, we have Culver's as well.
So you can go with your soft serve ice cream with Dairy Queen, or your custard with Culver's. Yeah. Excellent.
Sonic, they've got everything.
Everything.
Right? So I'm working directly with the franchisee. He's got 5 in the area. He's building his 6th right now, and so he and I talked, and he said, I need 1 acre. Here's what I need. So I've been looking, made a perfect connection for him Monday this week, maybe Friday last week. And so I connected him to the property owner, manager, and seeing if that might work.
So I want to mention another thing, because you talked about Jeff's passion for planning. You are you're directed by this plan. This plan helps you know what you should be recruiting, what direction to push at development. And there is a place that residents can see this entire plan. It's not just a plan about economic development. It's about all kinds of aspects. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. A comprehensive plan is something that's very, very common for almost any size jurisdiction that's, across the country. They want to have a plan, and essentially it's asking 3 questions: where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how are we going to get there? And so last year in 2021, Jeff Mills, our administrator, kind of spearheaded with staff at that time in creating this comprehensive plan. Generally, they're very extensive. They're time-consuming because you look at everything from soup to nuts. And we've put the plan on our website. We've created a special domain just for it. It's imaginecolerain.com. So it has 11 elements in it. The first and, of course, most important is the economic portion. Right. Well,
most important.
Just kidding.
From your perspective.
From my perspective.
You're completely unbiased on that.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
But it addresses, our comprehensive plan addresses not only economic development, but our public facilities and services. Recently, we had a specialist, a consultant that did a full review of all of our facilities and said, here's what your master plan looks like. The longevity of your assets and what a timeline looks like on having to maintain or replace some. It was very sobering, but on the area of housing or natural systems with water and flooding and hillsides, wildlife, Colerain has lots of that. Energy and intergovernmental coordination, public health, mobility, community character, land use, and our capital investment. So that's everything. And as you can click on each of these icons on that page, and it'll give you a deep dive into each one. So this is the economic development portion. It walks you through what does that look like, and what should we be addressing from that economic development perspective. How do we assess the economic health of Colerain? One of the things that we are in the process of doing is creating a comprehensive list, as much as possible. It's always very fluid of what are the businesses that we do have in Colerain. Interesting too enough that we recently discussed this, I think, at a trustee meeting. We have a little housing boom going on in Colerain right now. There have been a number of subdivisions that have been approved, and there's construction underway. You can drive a lot of streets and see those under construction. So and they're primarily single-family homes. A couple of subdivisions that are being done right now by Ryan Homes are triplexes. So they're, very nice product, and they're reasonably priced. These are new products, and I think they're kind of moving with the trend of having less yard and property and maintenance, and you can find a lot of buyers for those. And like I said, we've got hundreds and hundreds of homes that are on the slate for building. There's a lot of great things going on in Colerain. Again, we often just hear about the ribbon cuttings or little onesies and twosies here, but when you step back or come into my office and you can kind of get a look at everything, I'm impressed with the level of staff and the leadership. And I think it's a consistent feel from our staff that there's a lot of good momentum that we see in Colerain. And just along that somewhat economic development vein, we're partnering with Northwest Local Schools and trying to create more sidewalks to make it a more walkable community. So, our first goal is to make it safer for students. So that would be higher on the priority list. But the more we can create those walkable spaces and gathering spaces. And again, I think the mall location is going to be ideal if we can have a nice green space there. People can come and hang out, throw a blanket down, have concerts. They can get something to eat or drink. It's within that walking. They can bring their dogs and pets. I think a dog park is that great invite too, that people are loving that opportunity to bring pets. And I think opportunities there were, again, wink, wink, we're close.
Okay.
There's just a couple of factors that are left. Again, little things bubbling here and there that might be some major dominoes that would fall, and we're working with people strategically to help move that along. But I think there's always opportunity to partner with residents. I'm just again mention one of our staff, Stephen, our development officer, we had a little work session on tactical urbanism. Almost sounds scary, but it's not. We had residents that came together and they said, we have this issue. We have a little problem. We want to solve it, not quite sure how. So we have this little mini grant program that would provide some funding to test a concept. And let's try to solve it like this, and once it gets proved out, then we start working on the expansion of that. So that's what the tactical, again, seeing a problem, addressing it, and within an urban setting. So it might be pedestrian safety. That was brought up a few times, and so issues like that would qualify. And so Stephen has again created a page where you can go on and read about it and apply, and we'll consider that. And those are partnerships with residents that I think we're always seeking.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana.
So much.
Enjoyed being with you.
And thank you for watching Talking with Colerain Township. That means you want to be connected to what's happening in your township, and we'll see you next time.